Hi everyone, and welcome to our final webinar on alternative routes into employment. I'm Joanne McLeod and I'm the EM3 Programme Manager at RFEA, the Forces Employment Charity. And today I'm joined by Nigel at Morgan IAT. For those of you who haven't joined us previously, a bit of background about RFEA. We are a charity who provide employment support to the armed forces community, and we've been doing so since 1885. In terms of employment support, we support veterans, military spouses and partners nationwide and overseas, and we can help with CV reviews, interview techniques, transferring skills into civilian employment, and we have a team of dedicated advisors that can support with that. The EM3 Armed Forces Veterans and Families Programme is our newest programme based in Surrey and Hampshire, and we are providing the same support in terms of the veterans, the spouses and partners, and we're really excited to now be supporting service children in that area between the ages of 14 and 24. The EM3 programme is an Enterprise M3 initiative, and we are looking at helping at upskilling the entire armed forces community and supporting with training opportunities alongside our delivery partners, X-Forces, Building Heroes, University of Winchester and Tech Vets. So we are supporting people to raise their aspirations, looking at careers that they might not previously have thought about and helping them to find the routes to get those sustainable jobs that they were looking for. So that's enough about us. I'm going to introduce you to Nigel. Thank you for joining us today, Nigel. Would you like to tell us a bit about you and a bit about Morgan IAT and what you do?
Oh, yeah, good morning. Thanks, Joanne. So I'm Nigel Clarke. I'm the CEO of Morgan Innovation and Technology. Personally, I have no background in innovation or technology. I was a professional sportsman for 17 years, and then during that time started my own clothing brand, which I ran for just over 10 years before selling that, and then joined the family company, which was completely against my life's ambition. Never wanted to join the family company. So, but kind of fell into it. And my father was and still is, the mad inventor, wears a white coat everywhere, got long wispy hair. And my mother ran Morgan for 30 odd years before I took over about 5 years ago. So I've been with the company 9 years and been running it for the last 5, and in the long-term process of trying to buy it off them to keep the legacy going. So Morgan was founded 35 years ago by my parents to get some of the crazy ideas from my father's head out into the world. And it kind of had a purpose to try and make an impact on society. So it wasn't just here to make money and invent, for example, a new TV. They wanted to make and invent products that would make a difference in society. And that's kind of why we fell into the medical field. My father invented a pain relief machine 30 odd years ago that we were manufacturing up until last year and selling all over the world. And I think there's 6,000 to 8,000 devices still in the world that help people with back pain, especially. And we've been doing that ever since, and trying to help other people who have crazy ideas or hopefully really good ideas. We try and help them realize their ideas, help them make their ideas and then manufacture them.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's really incredible. And I was particularly interested in Morgan IAT when Jenna sort of first started talking to you with EM3, because I used to be a medical photographer, and all of the technology that's involved and is continuing to evolve in things like retinal scanning and things like that. So this is all really exciting. I find it really, really interesting. So in terms of your sort of business size, what sort of roles and things can people find within Morgan?
Well, it's really interesting, actually. As I said, I had no intention of ever joining Morgan. I certainly didn't think I could ever add any value to a company that, for me as a young man, was just a load of very, very clever engineers inventing stuff. What I have learned is engineers need to be surrounded by people. I'm going to probably upset some people here if there's any engineers listening. They need to be certainly surrounded by people with a bit more commercial aspect or a bit more common sense. So we have a real mixture here. We're roughly about 30 people at the moment. A third of our company is engineers, so development engineers, software engineers, mechanical, hardware, and trained engineers. A third of our company is actually manufacturing and assembly. So that can be anywhere to skilled staff all the way down to completely non-skilled staff and just production technicians. And when I say non-skilled, when I joined, I made sure I went into every department of the company to understand it, and even myself as a ex-rugby player, managed fine in production, helped out, and there's multiple roles. And then the other third is business development, bit of commercial, accounting, purchasing, and quality. So we did the admin side of things and the operation side of things. So, but just briefly on the engineers, in terms of, they are not all trained university graduated engineers. We've had a lot of staff come in that have joined the engineering department and either trained on the job a little bit or become part of the R&D team. And some have got backgrounds, completely out of the engineering side of things, and they've learned the disciplines that is required for engineering, which is a huge, broad range of skills and things. It's not just people that can design circuit boards or design equipment. It's a lot broader than that, and we've got a huge range of skills across the company.
Amazing. And it's interesting that you mentioned about when you sort of started there about how understanding how you would add value, because that's one of the biggest things that we do, that our caseworkers do, is working with the individuals. So whether that be sort of a veteran who is, or a service leaver who's just leaving service, has done something throughout their entire military career, but wants to do something different and isn't really sure where to start or how to add that value, like you said. And that's particularly noticeable with the military spouses. And military spouses quite often step off their own career ladders and sort of take on different jobs and look after children whilst sort of following around service. And I mean, that's not me stereotyping, that is pretty much exactly what happens. But quite often they have such an amazing set of skills, transferable skills, that they didn't even know that they had. So our caseworkers really work with the individuals to help them find out where they can add value. And like what you said with the people that have ended up in engineering that didn't sort of aim to start off there and have worked their way up into there, it's exactly what we're trying to do on the EM3 program, is helping people to get to that stage, but they don't necessarily know which steps to take. And that's why we've sort of got our employer liaison, Jenna, to bring people like yourselves on board to give the community, the armed forces community, those opportunities, which is really great. So do you want to tell us a bit about why you wanted to get involved with the EM3 project then? Yeah,
well, just personally on a note, my sister is a armed forces spouse, and she's actually the only engineer. I've got a brother and a sister. She's the only engineer in the family, so she was the obvious choice to join the family community, but decided to go and live in Cyprus for a couple of years, and then High Wycombe, and then Norfolk, and then somewhere else, following her husband around, who's still active. And she's actually ended up in High Wycombe. And I think she's a civil servant now. So jumps from job to job. But yeah, she was the only trained engineer out of the three of us. So she should have joined the company, but didn't. We do use her occasionally. We still, as a family business, my brother owns a software company. And we use him for his skills, and we occasionally I just need to close, being told off by an administrator. Yeah, so we occasionally use her skills and things like that, and she does use. So we're still very much the family business. And I've completely forgotten your question.
So the question was about why you wanted to support the EM3 program, but I mean that was fantastic because that just shows that people can achieve what they're looking to achieve with that support, and whilst they're moving around with service, which is fantastic. So yes, the question was why you wanted to get involved with EM3.
Well, we're always, hopefully, always looking out for good staff members. You never know when somebody stumbles across. It's not just when you're in a recruitment cycle and things like that. So we're always on the lookout. We always get CVs through the door and things. And personally, I'm still involved very actively in the recruitment of staff here. I was not academic at all, and it didn't interest me at all, academia. And so when we look at staff, we don't just look at GCSE, A-level, degree, whatever results they have. We look at the person themselves, and honestly is how they come across in the first 5-10 minutes of the interview. We know interviewing is unbelievably nerve-wracking, so we take that into account. But it's more their attitude of into work and what they're going to bring to the company. So I mean, one example, and we don't just do this, but our graduate scheme that we've run for many, many years, and I'd love to say I bought this in and it was my idea, but it wasn't at all. It was my mother's and our RFD at the time. But we bring in staff on a 3-month contract initially, and we throw them around the company. So they don't just come in and become commercial looking after our Twitter or Facebook. And you'll tell I'm not technical because there's probably not used anymore, Twitter and Facebook. But they'll come into the company, they'll do a bit in purchasing, they'll help out operations, they'll certainly be in production. They might go into R&D and help the regulatory people, the quality people, the engineering people, and we throw them around the company for 3 months. And it's in that 3 months they get to firstly see if the company fits them, but also for us to see if their attitude and things is what we want in the company. And if they are accepted on the program, they then do another 12 months with us as a minimum. And it's up to them in that 12 months to find a place in the business that they will really, really add value. Their salary increases throughout that 12 months. So by the end of it, they're kind of on what we hope is a really good wage, and they've experienced the company, and hopefully they found a position and forged it where we don't actually want to let them go because it would be more of a pain for us to, and they want to stay in the company. And we've been running our graduate scheme, as I say, this doesn't have to just apply to graduates. It applies to our apprenticeships as well. We don't, we've had maybe 15 through the door over the last 10 years. We've still got 8 or 9 in the company. And all those that have left, bar none, have gone on to experience different companies. We don't want them to always stay here. Some of the graduates come to us very late, and they've been in other companies, they've experienced life. But as I say, a lot of them are, early 20s. This is their first opportunity. This is their first job. We need them to go out and then find a bigger company, see what life's like in a bigger company, and then maybe one day they'll come back to us. We don't know. Maybe they go on to something different. But we see ourselves as a bit of a stepping stone on that side of things. And we run that with the graduates, with apprenticeships, with interns as well. So we try and push as much as possible. We have a lot of work experience, younger children certainly through the door. I think our peak year just before COVID, and we had only 30 or 35 staff at the time. We had 17 work experience people through the door one year. So, which can be quite, interrupting and things like that. But we put the scheme in place where it's not, or it's not as much, and they add value. And we don't just bring them in and get them to make tea and sweep the floors. We give them projects. We give them set things to do. They work in different departments, so they really experience what working life is about, really.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. And I think, like what you say, it gives the opportunity to see the full sector, doesn't it? Sort of moving around the business and getting a feel for the different roles within the organisation. Which, I mean, back when I was at school, when we did work experience, it was exactly that. It was sweeping the floors, and you went to whatever was the most easiest place to go, the local hairdressers or cafe, or did some dishwashing and floor sweeping. And it's not like that anymore. So, for our service children in Surrey and Hampshire, to be able to come and do some work experience like that would be great for them to sort of move around and see the business. So in terms of if we have someone on the EM3 programme that wants to come and sort of find out more, is that how it would work for them?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's getting in contact with yourselves and ourselves, some sort of CV, and it doesn't have to be fancy. I mean, it can be, a sheet of A4. What I look at personally is the cover letter, and again, doesn't have to be in depth, but it shows that you've looked at our company, so you know roughly what we're about, rather than just, hi, I would like to name, and you slot in the company. I would like to join and slot in the company. I think you're really interested, some few generics. It's actually, you proved, you've looked at our website, you've gone, okay, this is what we're about. This is, they're not just a run-of-the-mill company that takes on lots and lots of people. We're a small family company that, if you come in, you can make a real difference. You can make a real change to the company, and you can add value. So that's what I look at is if they've done a little bit of research on us. They give their reasons why they think they would fit in, think they would become. We're very much family, so think they'd be part of our family. Again, just before COVID, it's changed a little bit now. I think we have 5 different families in the company. So we had father and daughter, 2 father and daughters, 1 father and son. We had a niece and an auntie. In fact, we had 6 families. We had husband and wife, and then obviously my family with my parents and things like that as well. So it's very, very close knit. People know each other. I'm not a CEO or managing director that sits in an office and has my door shut. I speak to all the staff every single day. If there's a problem, they walk through my door. They don't, go and see anyone else. It's which is a bit of a pain sometimes, but we like to be very, very open. So it's that's what we're looking for when people want to come and join us, and if we need people at the time. So it's getting in contact, chatting to us, but trying to add in that personal note of why they think that it's worth and what they can bring to the company.
Absolutely, and it's something that we're continuously working with people on. Is about being themselves. It's more often that's important than trying to get everything that you've ever done in your entire life's history down on that piece of paper. Is trying to get a bit of yourself on there, especially at the point of interview. And you mentioned previously about apprenticeships, so you give us a bit of an insight into the graduate scheme. But if someone hasn't gone to university and is looking for that apprenticeship and training opportunity, what does that look like if someone was to come and do an apprenticeship at Morgan?
Well, actually fairly similar. We've been reasonably successful with apprenticeships. We had a couple of flops, but we've had that didn't last and then didn't want to carry on. But we've had 3, I think, that's gone through. Our greatest success story was a young lady that went to university, dropped out after a term. Unbelievably intelligent young lady, and not very social at all. And she was actually pushed our way and said, "Oh, can you help find a place for her?" She walked out of the apprenticeship with a first-class honours degree from one of the London universities, which she did 1 or 2 days a week while working almost full-time for us. So we gave her time off to do all of that. She then worked for us for, I think, 4 or 5 years after that, and literally moved on earlier in the summer, actually moved on to a big company to experience that. And to us, I mean, that's a huge success story, that this very socially awkward, introverted young lady has gone off and worked in a big organisation. But we've had another apprentice that came in. He worked in production for a year. He worked in the R&D department for a year, and walked out of it with a BTEC in engineering, in some sort of engineering. I don't know the details, I'm afraid. And then we've had another apprentice that's worked in the mainly worked in the commercial department. So helped us on our social media, helped us on putting together awards, worked on business development, so been involved in bringing clients in and client meetings and things like that, and general office admin skills and things like that. So so they've been our successes, and haven't got any apprentices at the moment, but as I said, always open. So it's whether you fit the bill. I think there's certain stipulations for apprenticeships, very welcome if that's something that people are looking to do. And we work very closely with South Downs College, for example. I'm going over to meet Alton College in the next couple of weeks as well. I think they want to work fairly closely with us. So we do try and if there's another college that wants to run the program you're involved in, we'll work closely with those colleges and the local county councils. I know East Hants District Council do some apprenticeship schemes as well. So we'll work with those and on the government scheme to put that together. Brilliant.
I mean, it just mimics exactly what you've said previously. There's such a variety there, isn't there, from the sort of engineering to the office and administration and comms, which is really fantastic for us, because we're going to come across people that want to do lots of different things. And as I say, everyone does have their own unique pathway. So it's great to see that there's more options available there that are open to people as well, which is fantastic. So that's great to know that the apprenticeships are there. Like what you said, university isn't there for everyone. As much as it's great, some people it just doesn't work for them. No. It's just not the right environment for them. And quite often people aren't aware that they can gain the same qualifications or similar qualifications and the work-based experience through doing an apprenticeship. So sort of that's what our caseworkers on EM3 are going to be doing, in terms of, have you thought about doing it this way if that way is not right for you, and then opening up these opportunities.
Certainly for the older generation, and I'll put myself in that, apprenticeships to me is mechanic, job training schemes from the 80s and things like that. That's our impression of apprenticeships. I went to university. I loved it purely for the social side of things. I did absolutely no work. Fortunately, in my day, it was free, or certainly you didn't come out riddled with debt. You could work your way through university and get by. Apprenticeships nowadays are so vast. You'll come out of it with no debt. You can get exactly the same qualifications out the back end if you want a degree. But you're working on the job at the same time, which for me is way more important than, stuck in a classroom learning the theory of what it's like to be involved in a business, because unfortunately it's got nothing to do, with what happens in a business. And being in a business is being reactive, and certainly being in a small business, it's not, this is your job and this is what you'll be doing every day. I will be asking you, or others, can you just go and do this? Can you chip in and go and help down there, and things like that? And it's being adaptable and doing a huge variety of skills. And just, to me, it's common sense. And, some things I won't be able to do. I can't design a circuit board, so I'm never going to try designing a circuit board. But that's why we've got specific engineers to do that. But the majority of the time, it's nothing to do with that. It's using your intelligence. And also for us, when we're designing products, and somebody comes to us with an idea, and these can be really complicated medical devices. I'm involved in a few meetings. Our production staff are involved in meetings. clinical advisors in meetings, none of them are engineers, and generally it's those people that are asking the really basic, stupid consumer questions of, why does that button do that? The engineer's overthought it and been an engineer, and it's the person that's on, will be using this every day, the idiot, like I say, I'm going to ask the stupid questions, that actually makes the device functional and work properly and things like that. So that it's huge variety of things. You come out of it debt free, as you say, you get your qualifications you want, but you get life and work experience. So I'm all for, I've got 3 young children. God knows how we'll get them through university, but I personally don't think it's worth it. As certainly me as an employer, I don't look at, are they been to Oxford or Cambridge or whatever people think. That may be true still of law firms and things, but generally in my business and people I work with, they don't look at that. They look at personality and what they want to achieve and things like that. And if we can upskill them, there's a huge thing of upskilling them. That's what we're here to do, is
absolutely
help with that.
Definitely. And I think, university work for some, and for like what you say, the sort of social side of it was what you enjoyed. And for some people, that's exactly what they need as well. So that will work for some. And then apprenticeships will definitely work for others. I think the big thing there is coming out without the student debt at the end of it. But what really struck me there was you talking about, particularly within your own organisation, but by doing that apprenticeship, they're really getting to see how the cogs work in the business rather than just in their own sort of skilled sector that they're learning about, which is quite invaluable, because if you go and sort of work for these huge organizations, you don't necessarily get to see how the business is coming together as well, that sounds really interesting.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you can, and we offer, if people want to get involved and learn more, a lot of our engineers, technical engineers, have at times said, well, why have you made this decision and things like that? So, well, if you want to understand about the commerciality of it, this is why we've priced this product at £1,000 and not £5,000, because this is what, these are the different aspects of it. And we'll work with people to do that. Whereas, as you say, if you go and work, and I'm nothing against Dyson, because it's a fantastic company, I'm sure, but there's 10,000 R&D engineers sat in lots of rooms designing things, and that's all they will be doing. They will be designing different products and different things. Whereas the joy of a smaller company is you get to experience the whole thing, and you can go and knock on a manager's door or a director's door or the owner's door. But different things work for different people.
Absolutely.
I've never worked for a big company, so I wouldn't know. Oh, well, I've worked for one, and I enjoyed it, but I could hide and go and do what I wanted and run it out, run my little bit how I wanted to do it, as long as you reported well.
Yeah.
But it's what you want. And as you say, university, fantastic for some, not for others. There's so much choice out there now, and it's about trying to find a place that suits you, suits your personality, and suits also what you want in life. Do you want to work 80-hour days and earn hundreds of thousands of pounds, or do you certainly maybe work for the spouse and things? We have a lot of parents, with young children in the company. They work in between school hours. I personally do drop off and pick up of my kids twice a week, 3 times a week. And my wife also works. Our accounts lady does drop off and pick up, does her hours in between that and things like that. So, but others do a 50-hour week, or we try not to let anyone do a 50-hour week. We try and keep them all in their hours. But others work that. Another thing we do just as a company is flexi time. So, and all part of that. Most of our staff do a 4-day week, so they do longer hours Monday to Thursday, and they have Friday off as a day. So they have a 3-day weekend. So,
well, that all sounds fantastic. To be able to offer those opportunities, and then that whole flexible working thing, like you said, especially for the sort of military spouses and partners, that to be able to work within school hours and to be able to do the school runs is something that some people might find really valuable to have, especially if they're in periods of deployment and they don't have someone else or their family around to support them with that that works really well for the Armed Forces community, which is fantastic. Well, that all sounds fantastic. I'm going to ask the next question, which I'm sure other people want to know the answer to as well. So if someone comes to work for you or to do an apprenticeship or a training opportunity with you, what sort of things are you working on at the moment?
Well, a huge variety of stuff. We're not only in medical, actually. We're actually in defence industry a little bit, and trying to get more into the defence industry, mainly because our CTO, our business development director, our technical manager are all from an ex-defence company called Cobham, which is a huge multi-billion-dollar company down the road here. So we've got quite a lot of expertise, and we're branching out into the defence side of things. But we're working on some tracking technology for not only high value assets like expensive cars and plant machinery, but also we have in the past worked on kind of covert tracking surveillance for people to drop into people's luggages and things like that and plant in cars, which is all way out of my area of expertise. We have developed an anti-snoring device, again, very prevalent to people of a certain age. And we've launched that earlier this year. We're trying to prove that works as a medical device now as well. So we're going through a clinical trial with that later in the year. We're still working. We specialize in the pain management system. So we're working on a couple of pain management devices. And some another one is what else we got? And we're working on a device for screening of preeclampsia and hypertensive disorders for pregnant ladies. So and that's sounds very simple, but we've been working on it a long time, measuring saliva in a lady's spit, and some molecules and substances in that. And it sounds relatively simple. It's not at all, but we've developed a device that you can then take a photo of with your smartphone and monitor a lady's pregnancy. Been working on that for many years, and that's trying to get that into another clinical trial at the moment with 1,000 women. So,
gosh, it all sounds really exciting, and it's one of the most exciting parts, I think, about the EM3 Armed Forces Veterans and Families Programme as it is, in terms of looking at all these skilled sectors, and all of the advances in technology are really incredible. Like to know that those sort of devices are going through trials and being made in the background is really interesting. Really
it's
exciting.
Amazing what comes across our door. It's unbelievable, and also what is amazing to me is just where it comes from. University students, kids come up with ideas, and all the way to retirees that have got an idea, want to try and make it work. We've tried to fund or help fund a lot of these over the years. It's impossible to do even a fraction of them because we get so many different ideas. And also going to see some of these companies, you think, I don't know. When I first started, I didn't know what was locally, and you just go and find tiny companies with amazing products that are, there's one just up the road in Borden where the guy supplies parts for all the Formula One teams, and it's a little, company in essentially a very nice shed on an industrial park type thing, and amazing equipment and technology coming out from all over the southern region, which nobody ever knows about unless you go and look for it. So yes, there's a lot around.
Absolutely. Well, it all sounds really exciting. Is there anything else? I've kind of got to the end of what I wanted people to hear about, but is there anything else you want to add before we go to Q&A, Nigel?
No, I don't think so. I hope lots of people ask questions. Otherwise, it's some awkward silences. But no, I think I've got across everything. And just if you go and approach companies, look into companies, look into the sectors you think about. Engineering, for example, is not as what people think about it. And STEM, people think, STEM, all this. And we're always trying to promote STEM in schools and things like that. It's not just designing a circuit board or designing this or putting this together. There's so many opportunities throughout. And, we are essentially an engineering company and a manufacturing company. We still have somebody that does our Twitter, our Facebook, and it's not me. Writes our blogs, does our monthly newsletters. We've got people that just do purchasing and go out visiting companies, finding different products. When we have a product come in, we've got to go and find a new widget or a new this, and he's got to go and research it and find the company, set up the account. That doesn't require any, it doesn't require a degree, doesn't require you to design a circuit board or know about, resistors and things like that. Our operations managers, young lady that used to work for Chubb Fire Extinguishers and came over to us, and she runs all our production and quality and purchasing departments. Say the commercial department, got to go out and meet people, go to exhibitions, try and bring in customers, try and keep our other customers happy and things like that.
There really is something for everyone, isn't there?
Absolutely, and you'll find that in every company. They've got to have all these skills. It can't just be a room of PhD students inventing stem cell technology, because if it was left to them, they would just continue to develop it and nothing would ever get out into the world. So they'd run out of money and things. So there's a whole breadth of things in every company. Absolutely
agree. It's like often if we talk about the NHS and people will say, oh, I don't want to work in healthcare, but they don't realise that there's actually that huge organisation in the back of the clinicians that are sort of keeping everything running in the background. So yeah, it's something that we're continuously talking about to let people know that there's more than just what it says on the tin in every organisation.
The NHS is the third biggest employer in the entire world, and it employs over 1 million people. Now they're not all doctors and nurses, no. Otherwise there wouldn't be any waiting lists. So as you say, I mean that the NHS employs everyone and anything, and
definitely. Shall we see if there's any questions then? Have we got any questions for Nigel or myself? Okay, so someone on LinkedIn has said, Nigel, how important is it having a background in tech and/or medicine for employment in your business?
0. I have no background in tech or medicine. I'm fairly untechy. Although I like my Apple products shamelessly, but and I have 0, except for breaking a lot as a rugby player. I have no experience or background in medicine either. So yeah, none whatsoever. And there are more people without any tech background and in our business than there are with a tech background.
Great, brilliant. Are there any others? We have a question here from Leanne that's asking, what age would you take your young people on for work experience?
When it's legal, which I got in trouble with last year, almost. We were extremely busy during COVID. We managed to pick up the contract to put. So in every box of Pfizer vaccines all vaccines, there's a tracking device. So there's 1,000 or 5,000 vaccines in a box, and you need a tracking device in that box to tell you where it is in the world, and to also on that tracking device is a temperature sensor. So the Pfizer one had to be kept at -80, and funnily enough, a friend of mine picked up the contract to do it for Pfizer and rang up and said, can you help us make these? We've just got a big order. And I've said, yes, no problem at all. Business was quite slow during COVID. And we ended up having to make thousands and thousands of these devices. And 5 minutes, it was 10 minutes work. 5 minutes was complete manual labor. 5 minutes was very skilled soldering. But part of the manual labor was in every device, for example, there's a SIM card. All SIM cards come in a credit card and you pop the SIM card out. So we were making 6,000 a week at the peak. And so somebody had to pop out 6,000 SIM cards every week to put into these devices. So one of our employees' son was just finished his GCSEs. Can I have some work? Of course you can. We've got lots of this work to do and things like that. So he came in and then we found out he wasn't quite 16 and he could only work certain hours. He can't work a full 37.5-hour week. It's illegal and things like that. But he came in on work experience, or paid work experience, actually employment. But work experience usually done through school and things like that. So whenever they're eligible, if they want to come in for a couple of weeks, I mean, generally I think it's 15 or 17, is it, those 2 years that they come in? But yeah, we've certainly had a number of 15-year-olds come in. Sorry, long answer.
Great. No, it was an enjoyable answer. That was really interesting about the vaccines. That was something I didn't know about. So that's really interesting. Again, every day's a school day, isn't it? So we say 16 to keep it legal, but if there's 15-year-olds out there, then they can reach out and ask the question.
Generally through school, when you do work experience through school, you're very welcome to come in.
Brilliant. And any more questions? So we've got a user on LinkedIn that's asking, how much do you use data specialists, and are these wide ranging from entry level or more experienced hires, or is there more of a focus on data science?
I don't really get the question. We don't really use data specialists for what we make. So I know very little about data specialists. We're more making devices and things like that. So I can't answer that very well, I'm afraid.
Okay. Thank you. And we have, what does the pay look like for an apprentice?
Shocking. No, it's all depends on age, and it's above minimum wage. I know that we don't pay minimum wage. I know the younger apprenticeships, some of the pay is really, really low, but so we top that up quite considerably. But it all, I think the apprenticeships all depends on age and things like that, and we'll make sure, we'll try and help with travel and things. The apprenticeship schemes often help with travel and training and things like that. So it depends on age, how long they're in the work for compared to going to college and things like that. But we do pay them while they're at college, or depending on what course they're doing.
That's fantastic. That's great to know. Are there any other questions, or is that everything? I think that's them all.
Brilliant.
Okay, I think that was the last one. Yeah, that was the last one. Brilliant. So thank you very much for joining us today, Nigel. For those of you that are interested in what we're doing at the EM3 Armed Forces Veterans and Families Programme, or in Morgan IAT, and would like to find out more, for instance, if you're looking for an apprenticeship and would like to know more about the sort of salary on that for your specific age and experience, things like that, then do reach out. You can register for our programme at rfea.org.uk/EM3. Where you will be assigned a caseworker who can help support you into work experience, apprenticeships, general upskilling, and if it's Morgan IAT that you're interested in, then we can put you in touch to get you there. Anything else to add, Nigel?
No, I think you've covered everything.
Perfect.
Great.
And just, sorry, I just spoke right over you there.
Fantastic work you're doing there. So keep it up. Thank
you so much. Again, we're here for veterans, military spouses and partners. That's those that are married to serving, ex-serving. If you're divorced from service or widowed, that's also available to you, and service children between the ages of 14 and 24 within Surrey and Hampshire. Do reach out. The link is on the webinar now, and we can help you get to where you want to be. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks very much, everyone.
Bye.